joining us now. One of the principals who was on that Signal chat, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Advisor Waltz, thank you for joining us tonight. The president expressed complete confidence in you today and his entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. With me, the one, the only, some even say the supreme. Luigi, how are you?
Very well. What a shit show we have on our hands this week. Please take us through what happened, George.
We've received a direct hit, Luigi. Alert. We've received a hit from JD Vance again, Luigi. Why is it him again? Is he in charge of the European portfolio? Can we get someone else like Pete? Can we get Pete? Pete is stupider. I prefer Pete, Luigi, to be honest with you. But let's elaborate on what has occurred and why, once again, Brother Vance, Brother JD, has laid out his hatred for the Europeans.
So, look, first of all, one of the biggest scandals I can remember. So here's what happened, the short version of it.
Since last week when he called for the annexation of Panama, people, whatever, yes.
So we had the following happening. A bunch of cabinet officials, very high-ranking cabinet officials, the vice president, secretary of state, secretary of defense, treasury secretary, CIA director, national security advisor,
defense secretary,
White House chief of staff. All of these people were caught having a classified conversation, basically, about how they were about to bomb the Houthis
about
in Yemen.
How much they hate Europe. Sorry, Luigi, yes.
We're gonna get to that. But all of these people were caught having this conversation on Signal, which is a messaging app like WhatsApp, like Telegram, encrypted apparently, but definitely not the highest end encryption.
Not the recommended, not the recommended one.
And here's the cherry on top. They invited a journalist. They invited a journalist by accident to that group chat. The journalist, of course, leaked part of the conversation, and here we are.
Yeah, leaked part of the. It's unbelievable, right? And at one point, I think Luigi, the defense secretary, Great Pete, was like, operational security guaranteed. While journalists in the chat guaranteed.
I mean, you had the CIA director on the call, and there was a person that they didn't even invite properly, but they invited by accident.
The whole clown posse was in town when we exchanged all the details about how we're gonna bomb the Houthis in front of the journalist editor of The Atlantic. It was unbelievable. And none of them realized he was in the chat while they were sharing all sorts of classified information, which they denied sharing because these people lie as a courtesy, folks. And then The Atlantic, I think today, Luigi, released the full manuscript because they were like, these people are lying through their teeth. They were talking about, if you want me to quickly go through, including details of US bombings, drone launches, and targeting information of the assault, including descriptions of weather conditions. They also mentioned specific weapons to be used, timings for attacks, and references to a target terrorist, presumably a Houthi militant. Further discussion of a confirmation that the target had been killed, and the use of several emojis, Luigi.
Indeed. Like American flags and arms, like arm emojis. But look, what struck me, the journalist thought that this was a fake chat.
Of course,
Because there's no way these people are so unprofessional, right?
And so incompetent, I think.
Incompetent. And he thought it was fake until the bombs started falling in Yemen.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, this is the level we are at, yes.
What a clown show. Total amateur hour. And just for the people to understand, the reason this is so disturbing is there are secure channels for these individuals to be speaking in. They weren't using them. And most importantly, when all these people speak, there should be records of what
Oh,
was
yeah.
said. This shouldn't be done on some random group chat with God knows who
Which,
in the conversation.
which Luigi, the chat, I think was calibrated to delete the messages in about 4 weeks or something. Whereas records should be kept for about 2 years.
Exactly.
Another,
For
yeah.
freedom of information requests, because we should know what these people are discussing
They're
behind closed
shitting
doors.
on us and deleting the messages, Luigi. That's how
Dude,
bad it's gotten.
dude, this is from a government that has been raging about waste, fraud, abuse, inefficiency. This is the meritocracy. These
Yeah.
are the guys that are gonna bring the meritocracy to the best and brightest.
It's kind of incredible because I have to elaborate when I say anti-European stuff. JD basically out of the blue started being anti-war, anti-bombing the Houthis because, and his argument was that the filthy Europeans are the ones who benefit from trade, from the Suez Canal. We get nothing. Why the fuck should we bomb the Houthis? And everybody was like, Pete was like, yeah, JD, we hate him. We hate, but we gotta do it. Like, what the
Allegedly,
fuck?
allegedly.
And Luigi, I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you bombing the Houthis, Vance? That's my question. Why have you been forced to bomb the Houthis? Why are they attacking shipping lanes? Are we the ones aiding and abetting Israel in its second demolition job they're carrying out in Gaza right now, Vance? Is it us,
Yes,
Vance? Is it? What the fuck,
yes,
Vance?
yes. A funny part.
Food for thought. Sorry, Luigi.
The
Yes.
Secretary of Defense was basically saying we should do it pretty quickly because otherwise we risk this getting leaked and we look weak.
Can you
We're gonna
imagine being the fucking journalist reading this? It's a who's who of dipshits. It's all of them, right? I think only Marco Rubio wasn't in on it. All of them
Mar
were
Mar
in. Even Marco.
Rubio. Yes, he was in.
Rubio was like, we need to bomb the Houthis.
We can show the people like with an
It
image
was all
of
of them, Luigi.
yeah. It was basically the who's who of the Trump cabinet, except for Trump
Except
himself
and RFK Jr., I guess,
and
because
RFK. Yes.
he's trying to ban vaccines, folks.
I mean, dude, there's all sorts of questions. First of all, why does the Treasury Secretary need to be in a chat about who you are gonna bomb? Okay, but
Yeah.
maybe I can understand that, right? But
Maybe he's gonna finance the bombs, Luigi.
maybe. And there's 1,000 questions. The big one
Luigi,
is
the other thing when we were talking about this, sorry, Witkoff, the Supremo envoy, was in Russia, in Moscow, while he was participating in this conversation with a journalist. Isn't that a
he
bit of a
was
security risk?
he was in Moscow, and look, what strikes me is how difficult is it for Russian intelligence services to get access to messages on your phone if they're in the building with you? I imagine not that difficult. So let's say these guys had a conversation, a group chat about the Houthis. Did they have another group chat about Russia? Another one about China? Did they even consider the security risks around this?
Maybe they even added a Russian journalist in the other chat, and we'll never find out about it.
Total amateur hour. And this is what really gets to me, right? It's the hypocrisy. Because if this happened to Democrats, the Republicans would be up in arms right now, that they would be crucifying them. They would
Luigi.
have already. Sorry, they would have already started articles of impeachment about all the entire cabinet. Hillary's emails were a smaller scandal than this. And
Acid washed. And
like they're yeah.
Lindsey Graham would be shitting his pants on every television station about it. Security.
And these people are down, they're
Yeah, yeah.
downplaying it.
Of
Like
course they are. Of
they were
course.
in front of Congress yesterday, some of them, including Tulsi Gabbard. And the CIA director was asked, like, this was a huge error, right? He was like, no,
No,
The senator was losing his mind. He's like, how is this not a huge
because
mistake?
if I say it's a huge error, Trump is gonna throw me out.
Bingo, bingo. So here's the issue, right? In a normal political era, these people would have resigned just by the shame of what they did. But
Oh yeah,
this is not a normal era. These people have no shame and they are never gonna resign because of that.
never.
So
Luigi,
I
I
mean,
believe Mike Waltz is the one who has taken responsibility for this. Is he the one who set up the group chat?
yes,
Possibly.
he's the one who added the journalist whose initials were JG.
Oh my
Now,
God, probably he was going for JD, right? That's like,
no, I think the leading theory around this is that they tried to add the US trade representative whose name is Jamieson Greer.
probably
So
something like that, yes.
the initials are JG, and that might have been the person they mistake the journalist with. This is a
And he
theory.
wasn't wearing his reading glasses.
But I mean,
Shaq always has his reading glasses.
you make a WhatsApp friend with a group with friends, like to go out one night, like you check who's in the group, right?
For God's sake. They were talking about all sorts of classified information, as well as shitting on us.
Speaking of classified information, let's go on a small tangent. Yesterday, in front of Congress, they reiterated multiple times over when asked, Tulsi Gabbard especially, that there was no classified information shared on that call, which means one of three things. Either the journalist is lying, I don't think so, because like he will go to jail just doing this, or they lied to Congress committing perjury, or, and this is my favorite one, they declassified normally classified information just to cover their asses. And I think that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, obviously they lie so much, and they were like, no classified information. So they released the full transcript, which was full of classified information.
Look, the real question here is how can you be discussing military strikes against a country which haven't happened yet and that's not classified? Like, to my brain at least, it has to be classified. So the only way they didn't commit perjury is if after the fact they came and declassified that information just to be able to tell Congress, well, we didn't share anything sensitive.
And I keep arguing semantics of what is the classified information and what isn't. It's not classified because we didn't specify the gender of the terrorist or whatever the fuck, just bullshit. They don't care, Luigi. They evidently don't really care. It was a minor glitch. Minor.
So let's go back to the European stuff.
Yeah, why does he hate us so much? Is it because we don't like Roman saluting anymore, JD? Is that it?
I think he understands, like,
JD?
Vance is trying to play good soldier for Trump. And what Trump
I think
wants
he's
right
even
now,
more anti-European than Trump. Trump loves
yeah,
Macron. Trump loves Macron. Best
Trump,
buddies.
Trump is also very antagonistic, though, towards Europe
To
because he
everybody.
understands,
Yeah.
especially, I think, Europe. I mean,
In the
Canada
EU, I
aside,
would say with you,
yeah,
I would agree with you, but in terms of trade, more so.
I'm
Uh,
talking about trade.
Vance, I think, hates us on a visceral level.
Vance just thinks that we're a lesser continent, and he damn well wants to make sure we never tax his tech
What is
companies.
this dude? Yeah, 100%. I mean, what is he? What is this? Is he a saboteur? Is he a traitor? I mean, literally, dude, nobody wrecks his alliances for no good reason. Not even Kissinger would do this. Like,
Espe-
who would do this? Why? For no good reason. Why be? Anyway, just,
And
wondering
just to be
about this,
clear,
Luigi.
this podcast is not a fan of Henry Kissinger, but I agree, even he
Rest
would
in
have
peace,
the
Henry.
pieces in pieces.
They gave him to Mohammed, he chopped him up.
Look, that honestly, let's just to wrap up all of
Yes.
this. This was, I think that if this happened to the Democrats, we would never hear the end of it. right?
Oh, this will
When
be forgotten by the end of the week, Luigi.
exactly because the news cycle when Trump is in charge moves so quickly because there's so much outrageous shit being said every day that our memories just go shorter term. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
remember what was said last week.
100%. It's happening so fast. On Friday, JD is going to be visiting Greenland. But although appearing as an escalation, because now JD is visiting, before it was his wife, it is a de-escalation in the sense that he's not going to go to the Greenlandic community. He's just going to go to the US Army base.
Because there were huge
Because
protests.
everybody said, no, don't come.
Okay, I mean, yeah. All right. So, what else do we have, George?
Nothing. I
Will
think
any
we
will anyone have to take the fall for this? And if it is anyone, will it be Mike Walls?
For some reason, I mean, I guess because he made the group chat, or there is another ulterior motive I don't know of. They really don't like the guy, but for some reason, the blame seems to be centering on Mike. Uh,
Yep. I,
will
I think he
Mike take the fall? Not really. Trump doesn't mind incompetency. He minds disloyalty. He wants
exactly.
100% loyalty. Incompetency,
Trump so far has been saying stuff like Mike is a good guy, but I mean he can throw him under
oof,
the bus
flip
like
of a
that.
coin.
Exactly.
Uh, but I don't think Mike he'll throw him this time because, as I said, hasn't exhibited disloyalty. Mike, he just added a journalist to a group chat.
And let's end on a positive note, perhaps. Is this the greatest thing that ever happened to Signal, the app?
Or perhaps never heard of it before.
Everyone said, like, what Signal? Ooh.
And with that, let's call it a show, Luigi.
Fruitful and educational, as always, good
A
sir.
fruitful occasion, good sir.
This most auspicious of nights.
Let us bid adieu. See you
Excellent.
guys.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye
Sayonara.
bye. Sayonara.